What's up, people? What's up, Seven?
What's good?
So, I've had an interesting day today. As most everybody in America has had today. When did you find out about the fall of democracy? Where were you when democracy fell? I mean, one second. I'm warming my hands by C-SPAN as the world burns. I'm just sitting here.
Dude, it's crazy out there. I will say it's looking real crazy, and the fact that I'll just say from my perspective, I try to my filter is such that I look at things through more of a historical perspective. So I just look at things that have happened, uprisings that have happened. I won't get into who did what when. I'm just saying when there have been other uprisings, we've seen a whole bunch of stuff that we're just not seeing today. Today we're seeing like an unprecedented amount of go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah. I mean, I just watched the video where the cops were like at this barricade, and then they just stepped aside and like just let the Trump supporters just walk straight into the Capitol with no consequences or repercussions. I'm also hearing that in Topeka in Kansas, I mean, there's a couple capitals that have been where impromptu rallies or things been going down. So this is not just like a localized event thing.
See, and I'm out here in Missouri. I didn't even know about that, so I'm gonna have to check out on that. I've been so much focused on stuff that's been going on in D.C. that I just been riveted. And trust, this is riveting. And it's bad that I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing like it's funny. I'm laughing just at the irony.
But that's all you can do right now. Like I feel powerless as hell. Like I'm just all like, okay, and the thing is we've been talking about this for a while, and so you're like seeing something like this coming, and then like it's here,
right? Oh, and the thing about it for me is the fact that it seems like nobody saw it coming. I put it like this: nobody who gave a shit.
Yeah,
nobody who gave a shit. Seemed it miraculously to everyone else. It was some sort of this is all an aberration. Like this is completely new. They did uncharted territory. Nobody even saw it coming, apparently. Even though those of us with boots on the ground looking at this thing the whole time, like, hey, you see the typhoon coming? Did you see it?
So much foreshadowing. It was like watching one of those disaster movies where you're like, why are all the animals running in that direction?
Dude, yeah.
The ground trembling. Like you saw it in what, Oregon and Michigan. They did the exact same thing there. And you're like, it would never happen. It can't be. It's just isolated incidents that were never isolated because they were doing it multiple times.
Absolutely. And it's like so for people, I guess, who aren't aware of what's going on, let the people know we're talking about
under a rock all day long and haven't turned on.
If we don't know what's going on, there's been an uprising. Today was the day when the votes were supposed to be certified in the Capitol. Our vice president was just supposed to do his Vanna White, just open it up and say, hey, this is it, and that's it. Somehow Trump got it in his mind that Pence has the authority to reject those votes, send them back to the states that have already been certified, and have them recertified again until Trump gets his 11,780.
Exactly.
And since Pence basically said, I don't have that authority, I don't know what you're talking about. Now he and Trump got some issues going on, I'm sure. And all of the MAGA loyalists are out there running the streets, storming the gates, and trying to get justice done for the American people.
Exactly. Now,
go ahead.
I called this. I mean, and the main reason why I called this little, special report, an amazing display of white terrorism, is because even though these individuals have been removed, some of them from the Capitol, I've seen some video of them being moved from one section to another or whatever. And there's been only 13 arrests, by the way. Like, there's been way more than 13 people doing this shit from what I've been seeing all day.
I saw a video of about 20 people climbing a wall.
Exactly. We got 13 arrests of these people. So that's a victory, in my opinion.
Okay.
Everybody is watching this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were of a like mind and you felt like you wanted to, go on your own little, terrorist foray into your local government offices, you're saying all the repercussions of that are, you just get told to leave eventually after a while. We'll implement a curfew in the evening, but whatever you're doing right now, enjoy your time, walk around, carry your Confederate flag wherever you want to.
I don't know. Nancy Pelosi, think this is like an actual victory, though?
I'm looking at it as a victory because the thing is, you are basically showing that you're confirming the fact that there's a disproportionate application of violence for this kind of activity if you support this ideology. Because everybody's saying it everywhere. If these people were black, if this was Black Lives Matter, that's how I know they're not Antifa. That's what you're hearing some of these people calling in talking about. It's the Antifa who are actually doing the violence. They're among the real patriots. They dressed up like Trump supporters, and those are the people who are being arrested. Everybody else there is a patriot. No, if that was true,
that's insane. That's insane to me. That there's this I don't know this what do I want to say, this entropy that's taking place with certain definitions of words. It's like the more you say words, the less the more they lose their meaning. And it's like patriot used to mean something a whole lot different maybe 20, 30 years ago than it does right now. I don't know. I just find that interesting. I really find that interesting that we can that people can form their lips to say the word patriot in regard to what some of these people are doing out there. I mean, a woman got shot.
Cops. There is a video going around individuals, chasing down people inside the actual halls of Congress. Like these MAGA people storming the stairs and shit. Like it's law and order. This is not law and order.
No, not at all. And I don't know what it is, to be quite honest, because I'll say this. So it seemed like at one point we had the the MAGA people who I guess they thought the police were on their side.
Oh yeah.
And which I guess from their perspective I could understand, because when the Black Lives Matter marches and all that and protests and all that were taking place, it certainly seemed that way with the amount of leeway that a lot of those loyalists were allowed during. I mean, in Portland, in Idaho, I mean, everywhere. Here in Kansas City, I mean, they were just given a lot. I mean, they were just basically given carte blanche by the cops in a lot of respects. So the fact that now there's pushback, I just feel like there's some other force at play there.
I mean, and even the pushback is like with kid gloves. Like they're like the way the cops are responding is observably different than they've responded in these other protests. Like the lack of violence is significant. The only thing I've seen some tear gas. I haven't seen rubber bullets deployed. As a matter of fact, I saw one of the Trump supporters, breaking some glass using a riot shield. Like you got that from a cop. hey, yo, Jethro, can I hold that real quick? Bam, bam, bam. Blue Lives Matter. I don't understand how you got away. Just the brazenness of all this. It's just fascinating.
The arrogance. That's the way I'm looking at this. Again, looking at it from a historical perspective, I'm just like, this is. I mean, because again, historically, just looking at other groups, not mentioning anybody, because I don't want to make it that, but looking at other groups and other people who have marched, had rallies and things, and they were just looking for, freedom rights, humanity. They were met with bullets, dogs, hanging, eating. A lot were killed. At the end of the day, when all this, when the smoke clears, how many of these people do you think will actually be arrested?
Well, as of right now, 13.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about.
Not. I mean, like, it's not. However many get arrested, it's not going to be enough to send the message. And this is the other thing too. Like how it's being responded to, what it's being called. Like, are you hearing terrorism being used on any other channels?
Not at all. I haven't heard that word said. I haven't heard the word uttered. But you can't use that word when you're talking about white people. I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just make it what it is. We can't use that word when when we just had a bombing in Nashville that leveled a full city block. They talked about it for a day and a half, maybe. And I won't even say that half was more like here's an excerpt, and it was just in the chyron across the bottom. There was no real huge. As a matter of fact, even the reporting of it was completely different. He was a computer geek who got killed in the bomb.
Yes.
He was a terrorist. Let's be real. This is what terrorists do. This is terrorism. And God be with them if there's somebody just amongst the people that's out there in DC. God be with them if there's somebody in there who has on the vest.
And we have documented video now of actual members of Congress feeling literal terror. We have shots of people breaking in and going on in the Senate. Like
they're hunting for Pence.
Exactly. Like that. That's a very terrifying event.
It's not, because it's white people. It's the American way. They're just trying to teach Mike Pence and all the people who have obviously been pulled away, by the progressives and Democrats, and Antifa, of course. They've gotten to them, and somehow they Manchurian candidated Pence in the 25th hour and got him to they hit the button, and all of a sudden he switched up on him.
Black Lives Matter must have drop zoned him and picked him up from the side of the road and programmed him in one of their secret Chicago gang.
One of those drop sites, Chicago drop sites. Black Ops site. Sorry,
exactly. Yeah. Run by Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely. But the Black Ops sites are real.
I ain't gonna. I see you there. I see that.
I must say I can tell you some stories.
I know about how Chicago got Chicago's reputation.
Man, Chicago's interesting. But getting to the point, I just feel like there needs to be some sort of like if we can have any, if we're gonna have real dialogue, kind of going back to last night, if we're gonna have real dialogue, we got to be honest about some things. and that honestly needs to include the fact that there was some complicity in this. There was a lot of go ahead in the midst of this.
I found that
right.
ironic today as this unfolds. The same members of Congress who are openly trying to discredit an election that actually got them into Congress, where they could openly discredit an election. Those same members of Congress are now dealing with the repercussions of what they've emboldened. Like, these people feel legitimate outrage with no evidence whatsoever that their government has been taken from them because they didn't get their way in an election. And so members of Congress are now fearing for their lives. And, everything's been our government has been suspended, like literally been suspended, because we have this siege going now. That's insane to me.
That's insane to me that they allowed them to have this much power. And that they have allowed this to go on this long. But I guess if you're going to play the role, Redman said it best: if you got to be a monkey, be a gorilla. So I guess a lot of these folks decided, well, if I'm gonna play this role, I'm gonna play it all the way out.
But they had to. That's the thing. It's like they had to in order to be taken seriously. And this is why I call this years ago. This is the inevitable conclusion of authoritarianism. This is the inevitable conclusion of fascism. At some point, you got to put your money where your mouth is, or you're just talking shit. Like if you're on the playground, I'm gonna bust your ass. I'm gonna bust your ass. You can only say I'm gonna bust your ass so many times before you gotta throw a punch. And so as these people are flirting with this idea about violence and terrorism and, our liberation in their minds, at some point, the rubber has to hit the road. And so for everybody sitting here dismissing, their bravado as just being that's where you get into this position today where you're like, oh my God, I never thought that could happen. This is insane. This is crazy. They've been telling you, this is the worst film ever. They've been telling you the whole damn script, and that we were going to get here at some point if you were just listening to them.
Dude, that's why I call Trump support. I generally call them the incredulous bastards. Because anytime it comes to, when it's something that Trump says or some idiocy that he's pushed for, there's always the no, not my president. He would never. Show me. You got to prove it to me. And even then, it's like that was out of context. It's fake news. Like it's just so much of that it's just it's mind-boggling to witness it, especially when you witness it in real time. You have to sit back and say, wait, didn't I just use English? Didn't I just use facts? Didn't I just use reality? Didn't I just show you right here on the thing? Every time you and every time I have those situations, I'm sitting there, completely just amazed at the fact that it doesn't connect. It's not taken in at all. In not whatsoever. Now, here's a question though. So with everything that's going on and all the, the GOP mad at voter turnout, I don't know how you can be mad when you got 74 million against 80 million, but whatever, math. But with all that, there seems to be almost a push, a very, very light, very, very faint, but it seems to be a push that even some members of the GOP are not happy with the Electoral College. Do you think that? And I think that if they're not careful and they play the cards incorrectly, the Democrats will be like, "Okay, cool, let's do it. let's get rid of the Electoral College."
Well, I think the GOP wants to get rid of the Electoral College conditionally. Right. And it's not, it's not just the electoral. Now they get the riot police out. It's not just the Electoral College that we're dealing with, them wanting to get rid of. It's what they want to replace it with. Mm-hmm. And what seems to be what they want to replace it with is, an authoritarian, autocracy where basically, it's just run by a king.
Yeah.
So, I don't see the GOP working with the Democrats to get rid of the Electoral College unless they see the opportunity to get, the monarchy of Trump that they're looking for, or the monarchy possibility that they're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. And so I guess the way I'm saying it is I just feel like if the Democrats are able to play their cards right, which they almost have been a little bit lately, hopefully if they can play the cards right, then maybe that's where that could end up leading. That we actually end up getting rid of it without having to go to the extreme of saying, well, let's have kings.
How do you feel about did you see Biden's address?
I did not. I have not seen Biden's address. What did he say?
Okay. So, Biden, here's my take on it. So Biden, basically, took on this, president-elect role, this is unacceptable. This is not how a democracy runs, but then within that statement, that's another thing too. He said it's 2 points. One is he said it's near sedition, what's going on in the Capitol right now. And I felt like that was a punch that should not have been pulled. I felt like he should have called it what it is. It's fucking sedition.
Dude.
That's what's happening. Why are you sitting here mincing words? Like it is what it is.
Because he's a Republican at heart, man. Let's be real. These are his people. He's not gonna sit there and try to be so much against them that they don't have a pathway back. So he's trying to allow them to have a pathway to come on back to Jesus. You know, I'll bring you into the fold. Come on, baby. Like that's what he's looking for. That's what he's expecting. So, and to me, this is no different than, and I of course, in extremes, I realize the difference, but I'm saying this reminds me in some areas of the Civil War, especially when you're thinking about, well, these are people who wanted to completely secede from the Union. They were fighting and killing people in that effort. And what? So now that it's over and they lost, now they just get to what? Monday, go back to their job?
Mm-hmm.
How? So I'm just like when it comes to what's going on with all these people out here and the riots and everything that's happening, like what? So come next week, all these people who were scaling the walls, armed in the Capitol and going looking for justice or to create.
It's gonna be like weekend Cancun. It's gonna be like weekend in Cancun. It's gonna be like, you know.
Yeah, so what? So come Monday, they're just like, hey guys, I'll bet it's all. We're sorry, it's all off. Hey, see you at the basketball court later on today, right? Have lunch with you at 1, right? Okay, see you guys later. I hated you earlier, but we're fine now. Like,
remember at Capitol, it was crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah, like what? So that's what I'm saying. How was that supposed? How do we play that out? I feel like if we don't. Because here's the thing: if we don't arrest these people, if we don't prosecute these people, then we look like a bunch of pussies.
Agree.
I'm sorry, we look like a bunch of pushovers. I say pussy, I don't mean women, I mean cat.
I totally
not female.
Get and agree with you, because the thing is, if justice does not flow like a mighty river, and significant amount of people don't suffer the utmost consequences for this action, then basically you're just saying, I mean, if it's justified especially, then you're just saying, you know what, you can do this as long as you can.
Absolutely, you can do it. You can do, and that's what I'm saying, dude. I mean, that's what all this is. That's again with the leeway, the complicity, the allotments, the National Guard not being called until the 25th hour. I mean, like all of that is basically saying that this is okay. You can do this if you got the complexion for protection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, that's also the second thing I wanted to get to was at the end of Biden's speech, he made the statement, he made this profound, statement that, a good president inspires, a crappy president or poor president incites. And then he called on Trump to, denounce the violence that was going on and to shut it down. I'm like, okay, well, at that point, what's going to happen is Trump is definitely going to tell you, fuck you, and tell his followers to do whatever he wants them to do. Now, to his credit, Trump did come on Twitter and put out this announcement, basically saying, it was a well-shot announcement too, and a very, very nice camera, meaning that this was definitely, staged in the But
Ivanka had something to do with it.
Yeah, possibly. But he's on camera and he's sitting here saying, it's fascist doublespeak. Violence is not acceptable. However, I understand your outrage for the most fraudulent election in history, but go home, because violence is not acceptable for this fraudulent election that took place that we will seek justice for, but violence is not acceptable. Go home, and don't think about the fraudulent election.
Sounds about right. I mean, I'm just I feel like that's that. I mean, but that's his MO. He's always been somebody who tries to play both sides. Both sides. So I mean, that's always been his. I mean, So I didn't hear that speak or hear from that either, but I did hear some of the responses from it, and basically it was just that it's not going to land nearly as well as his Charlottesville response, which is his both, which goes to his both sides statement.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just feel like when it comes to our president, for lack of a better term, his days are numbered, and he's just trying to Nixon his way into whatever he can, however he can, and stir the pot on his way to the bottom. but because inevitably and evidently he lost.
He did.
All of this stuff, everything that's happening right now, all of that we're seeing on the news, everything we're seeing on TV, CNN, MSNBC, and all these locales, all of that, all of this is just, we're just seeing a temper tantrum.
It is. It's because we lost.
This was a huge temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's unfortunate when grown-ups have temper tantrums because they don't have baby rattles and bibs. They got AK-47s and bulletproof vests. So it's a different kind of setup. But still, at day's end, that's what it is. And so I mean, we've had a president who for months, for years, has been sowing seeds of distrust in the election process unless he wins, which is the craziest thing for people to accept. I'm like, how are you able to accept? How are you able to mentally, do that sort of contortion where you can say, okay, well, I don't trust in the election process. I totally don't trust it unless the person I'm voting for wins. Like, how? How, Sway? How?
There's quite the disconnect. Quite the disconnect.
Yeah.
And the fact is, the disconnect is so blatant. So I was talking to somebody else about this, and they were basically saying, Brandon, you have to understand, it's about intelligence. Some people, are just easily, controlled and manipulated. And to that I say, yes, some people are. However, my problem comes with the lack of consistency in regard to your perception, of injustice, things that you acknowledge are unacceptable if they happen to you, are suddenly acceptable if they happen to other people that you don't like, which is the epitome of an emotional response. There's no logic behind that. You would just feel like these people over here should suffer. You just feel like these people's votes don't matter. You just feel like these people's lives don't matter. Like there's no logic, no reason to it.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, other than self-interest and the hopes that maybe your version of this story is somehow going to catch on and you'll go viral, and with that virality you'll get whatever comes with that, however you see it. I don't know. But I'll say an example of that because I've seen that like in real time. The independent reporter on Twitter had a video initially just showing, in some of the crowds and all that is what was going on. Then at one particular point, just decided it took a turn where there was a crowd of white people. Again, most of the white people out there. Crowd of white people, one black person in the midst. And the black person is like holding their phone and doing something or whatever. From the side, here comes a white hand that smacks her and tries to grab the phone. Right? Instantly, now this is a black woman. There's a black woman who holding the phone. There's a white woman who tried to smack and grab her. Instantly, black woman hit it. Foul! Like it was so fast. She looked, foul, caught her. Like the white woman missed. Black woman connected. So, but the story comes out as this person is reporting it, that the black woman sucker punched the white woman and ran off. And I'm just like, this is it. This is what we're talking about right here. Like you can clearly see what's happening. Yeah. But because it's not beneficial or it doesn't report the story that you want, you're like, well, let me narrate this a little bit differently. And it's like, but the evidence, but the evidence.
So that leads me to ask, well, I'm going to ask one question and then. So with that being said, I'm going to piggyback off of what you're saying. With that being said, do you envision with the selective application of understanding and justice that Trump would be held accountable or will be held accountable, if we survive these next 2 weeks? Do you feel like we'll even survive? the democracy will survive these next 2 weeks of this temper tantrum? Because this is just one day, and the government literally was shut down. We don't have the electoral college vote certified.
the democracy definitely will survive. Trump will survive because Joe Biden has already stated that he doesn't want to prosecute him or go after him in any sort of way. And again, that's disheartening. And because I feel like if you do crime, you should do time or at least be held accountable, because that's what you teach all us minions and peons that are sitting here on the floor, on the ground floor of this thing. So, it's like if we are to be held to a standard that is so high that in some cases it feels unreachable, then why not our elected officials as well? What makes them above reproach or above law? I've yet to understand or see why that can be, or how that can be the case. But do I feel like anything is going to happen? Is he going to receive any sort of repercussions over what he's done as the president? No. Do I think that some of his business dealings or something like that in New York maybe will catch him up, or maybe he'll end up will result in him having to pay a fine of some sort? Maybe that's a maybe. But time served? No. Anything for inciting the riot, the riots and violence? No. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think anything like that is going to take place.
Which is why I don't think that, the authoritarianism that he's emboldened under his rule is going to go anywhere anytime soon, because without any significant punishment for any of these, activities, for killing over 350,000 Americans with his inaction on COVID, for emboldening this terrorist attack, he giving his rally right before it happens. Like, this is not, he walked away and sent his army off to do exactly what they just did. If he doesn't face consequences for any of these things, if none of the people around him face consequences for any of these things, inevitably what's going to happen is you're going to have whoever follows him, if not him, whoever follows him, they have to go down that path.
They have to be the lemmings to fall off the freaking ledge. They got to.
And they have to be just as bad, if not worse than him.
That's what I'm saying. So Gates, Jordan, Garcia, all of them. Didn't he just give the freaking Medal of Freedom to who was it? Not Garcia. What is his name? Nunes, Devin Nunes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just gave Nunes the freaking
well, along with Rush Limbaugh. So I mean, it's like he's
giving
white supremacists medals,
dude. His entire ilk should be. I mean, if not shot, they at least should be arrested. At least, like that's what I'm saying. Like, these are bad people who are doing bad things. Are we not an American country anymore? Are we not the country that's supposed to be land of the free, home of the brave, where we actually go out and we believe that the good guy wins at the end of the day? Are we not still that country? Because if we're not, then we need to make that apparent, and then we really need to start releasing folks from prison. Because if we are going to be that country that purports itself, or that continues to purport itself as the shining city on the city on the hill, and all that other Reagan bullshit, if we're still going to be all that stuff, then we have to prosecute people who do bad shit. Period. Like, it's not that difficult, but I guess it takes a certain level of testicular fortitude or genitalia of some level, ladies, to
you gotta have that grip. You gotta have that grip.
Yeah, you gotta put the mighty grip on. Y'all know what y'all do, but you have to have something to say. Well, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and prosecute this dude. Like, I wish. Oh my God, I can't remember the lady's name. The squad, the white lady, the one.
Not Ilhan, no,
the white one.
Alexandria.
No, the white one. The white one. No, so she's not exactly the squad, but she's I consider her part of the squad too. But I can't remember her name right now. But
are you talking about Katie Porter?
Katie Porter. Thank you.
Okay.
I wish she was
the squad. That's what I'm like.
God, she is my favorite woman. Oh, dude, she don't let shit slide.
Yes, the squad. Yeah.
She'll immediately be like, "Oh, really? Let me pull out the notebook." Okay, so immediately just start like, "Okay, so this is what you did. Here's the law. So what would you normally do in this sort of situation?" Because if you had the position that I have right now, this is what I would do. So let me know. I mean, like she would. Oh my God, Katie Porter's the shit.
But we need teeth. We need a Katie Porter. We need a Katie Porter, but at the same time, we need a Katie Porter attached to an actual Justice Department. Like, is Bill Barr still on? Is he gone now? Like,
he's been gone for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah. So who's in charge of the Justice Department, and why aren't they enacting some kind of justice right now? That's a problem.
I guess since we don't have, do we? I think we have. There's a replacement has been named, hasn't it?
All I know is if he's out there, she's out there, they're out there, whatever pronoun they choose to use right now, they ain't doing shit. Like, they're not. Yeah. And so it's like, you can have a Katie Porter all day long saying, Billy stole $5 from the corner store. I have it right here.
I'm talking about having a Katie Porter be the person who they would have to answer to. Like I don't even know what the position would be. Like, hell, she was in charge of the Justice Department. Something. Like if she
Merrick Garland. You heard about the Merrick Garland declaration that Joe Biden is supposed to put Merrick Garland as AG? That's what I heard. I've heard
it. I've heard it. If it happens, cool. If it happens, that's great.
You aren't for that?
No. I mean, hey, I'd be for it. I'd be for it. I'm just.
I feel like there's some, justice. I mean, in that. But I mean,
I'm sorry. Anything that comes out of the Biden campaign, the Biden camp, I'm like, okay, let me just see it first. let me just see it first, because if I just sit there and be like, oh, this is gonna happen, and just get excited and run off with the plug, I end up running down the street and look behind me and realize, oh, I'm by myself. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll wait and see when it comes to breaking news: the woman shot at the U.S. Capitol has died.
Oh shit! They have the MAGA terrorists murdered somebody.
Yes. Breaking news. So yeah. So I saw earlier that somebody said that they were playing devil's advocate, and they were like, well, maybe she was committing a crime when she got shot. I mean, maybe it's possible. A lot of other people out there committing crimes, and they alive and well, kicking it.
Yeah, very many. I mean, there are a lot committing crimes on the Capitol today. A lot of individuals on the Capitol today. I don't even know how this is. How this is allowed. Well, I know how it's allowed, but I don't know how somebody can conscionably say, yes, this is fine. This makes sense. Let's keep it going. I just don't, or that this is like excellent. This is moving like right into the path that they wanted to. I just don't see that. Well, I mean, on C-SPAN, I've been. First of all, there's a lot of C-SPAN reporters who are traumatized. I can tell today, because this is not what they signed up for. They signed up to be CNN.
Oh yeah, they were like, hey! I thought we were doing like congressional reports. What is this? What is this? On the scene. Wait, what is here? What is this? I don't know how to do this.
So far out of their element. It's I actually feel kind of bad for them. Like, they're devastated by what's going on. But it's the people calling in where I'm hearing two things. One is propaganda reverberating from what I've seen online. That's how I knew that conspiracy theory about Antifa being part of this group was actual propaganda, because I saw it pop up online. It was on Twitter, and then I'm hearing people calling in, regurgitating that talking point. So that gets out there and allows individuals to, have some plausible deniability in their support of this activity today. I support the protesters who were there. I don't support the Antifa violent, insurrectionists who were among them that made it look worse than it was. So you have that going down.
Right.
But then you also have, a rationalization for the violence taking place. Some people who are actually more like, yeah, I saw what happened, and I'm happy. Like, they are reveling in it. This is what the Democrats wanted. This is what they expected it was going to come to all along.
Yeah, I don't. Go ahead. Sorry.
So there's an endorsement. So there is a thread of that in our population. That, because it's not just one person called in, saying that. There were multiple people calling in, justifying it on some level, either whether it be by false equivalency or basically by saying that democracy has failed and this is what you get.
Yeah, I mean, that's the play, but to me, it doesn't seem like that's going to go as far as it needs to go. Oh, sorry, did you see this thing? It says, "What do you have to say about the black security guard who was living on the second floor?"
There was a black security guard. Thank you, Carlton. There was a black. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Wow.
Security guard. I saw a video. And he was back, and he had a baton in his hand, and he's sitting here backing up. He's sitting here backing up from these Trump supporters who are basically chasing him up stairways through Congress, through the halls of Congress, and he's trying not to engage these people violently, but they just keep on encroaching and bearing down on them.
Wow.
Eventually, he backed himself into. There were like 4 or 5 other cops that showed up and gave him some support. But yeah, this dude was backing up the whole fucking time because the thing was, he just had his baton, out. I didn't see a sidearm on him. And I thought to myself, you know what? You should just draw and just start popping.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. At what point
you're gonna run out? Like, I mean, they did.
Like, well, I mean, so like with the mob that was coming toward him, were they all holding weapons also?
No, I didn't see weapons, but at the same time, there are also reports of weapons being taken from. One second, I'm emailing Carrie, but weapons being taken from people, Trump supporters who were in the audience.
Okay, so they did take the weapons away, but wow, but we still have. Geez, that's just wow.
So it's like you actually had. I mean, I don't understand how you get into the Capitol, which is supposed to be the most secure building. It's where we conduct all of our official government business. How are you able to get in the Capitol with firearms? Like, how's that?
It's easy, man. It's easy. You just correct it. Who is it? You do that, and they say it's we got a package. Okay, is it Amazon? Okay. Come on in. Then next thing you know, here they come. They're like, oh, we got dogs. Here's our guns, and here we are. Where are the dogs?
Exactly.
Where are the dogs? Where are
dogs?
Where are the
language?
Here's the thing. Like, I bet, and I'm being funny, but I bet like cops from back in the 60s, if they still alive, like I bet if they're looking at this, they're like looking at the cops like, you pussies. I bet they're looking at them like, nope. So wait, so we just had batons and dogs and we was fucking them up left and right. Y'all got automatic weapons and ain't fired a shot? What is wrong with you? It is bad. It's really bad.
Nary a one.
Yeah. Darnell said it right here. He said, where's the dogs? Where's the tear gas? Where's the National Guard? Why nobody's slammed on the ground?
Exactly. None.
Hoses. Yeah, water cannons. This would be a great time for a water cannon, especially in the winter. You get them fuckers wet in this weather.
Exactly.
In this weather.
DC.
On the East Coast.
DC.
Man, all you need is a good cold front to come through after that.
There's no tree cover in that area. Like I've been on the mall. There's no tree cover in that area. Everything has been cut down for visibility purposes. So when the wind blows across that, you feel that shit. So you got them wet. It would have been a bad time. It would have been a bad time. And no violence would have been necessary. Just like, throw some Evian on them, something.
Yeah. I listen. He said some Evian. I don't think they can afford the Evian. That's the what they call it, the decadence. They can't have that. We can't have that for the people. But so what do you think is like the ultimate goal here? Like, so it's like the actual goal to go in. Like you're actually gonna hold the vice president hostage and say, hey, send back the votes, make everybody recertify. Then what? Okay, so let's say Pence does it. He sends everything back. Then what? You just gonna sit there? Yeah, I thought so. Like what? Like, I don't get what the plan is. I don't get.
Then whenever you leave and go home, they're like, well, that happened.
Like, where does this exactly stop? What's the stop? Like what is the end game here? I don't get it. Because here's the thing. Because while you're doing all this, and all the discontent has already been sown, all the distrust has already been sown into the electoral process. So you don't believe in it. So what exactly will you, as the Trump supporter, like what exactly is going to make you feel good now? Like, will you? So if they send everything back to the states, and the states, what all 50 states supposed to say, hey, you know what, we was wrong. Trump won. We so sorry. And then what? Y'all just gonna be like, yeah, I thought so. Like I don't know. It just sounds like something from really. It sounds like a really cartoonish ploy. I don't at least from the way I'm looking at it. Maybe I'm not. I don't see the whole plan in front of me. You know what I'm saying? But to me, the end game is still has him losing at the end.
It does. It has him losing at the end. But I think the ultimate. I think there's two things going. I think we're operating on two levels here. There's the fantastic reality that supporters live in, and then there is the actual reality that the manipulators live in. The manipulators know. The conservative manipulators know, like you and I know, how this is going to play out. That this is not sustainable. That this is not something that is going to be recognized at large. But they have to, in order to continue to receive the report of their base, the support of their base, they have to give some kind of pushback. And they know that the Republican Party, as it is essentially dead. They got to build something new, and it's got to be more extreme. So by giving this pushback and having this show of power that you see on display right now,
right?
This is taking authoritarianism and fascism into the mainstream. Like, this is a running. I mean, just like Al Qaeda has those training videos where you have somebody wailing in the background, Allahu Akbar, while you got people running through obstacle courses and swinging on jungle gyms and shit, like, and shooting targets and stuff in the desert. This is that same shit.
Yeah,
this is that same shit.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Look how the new fascist party is born. Josh Hawley, Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes, all of them, Ted Cruz. This is what we brought. This is what we created. Sign on for this shit. No consequences come to you. Whatever you follow our lead, we're going to protect you. We're going to take care of you. I bet you the 13 people who are arrested, conveniently, is going to be some way that they get off without any kind of consequences, or a fine that's paid for with some kind of racist GoFundMe. But
right.
At the end of the day, there'll be no consequences, and people see a display of power.
Yeah, but that's what they like. They like the strong man. Because here's the thing, and it's so fucking stupid. I mean, so it's like their whole thing is about I won't say their whole thing, but you heard a lot, especially in 2020, a lot of cuck talk, and like, you're a cuck, and you're like this and all this stuff. Like, I see all so like, there's all this stuff, and it's like, but at the day's end, you're hoping to cuck for Trump. like you're cucking for Trump. That's what you're doing. You out there, like, you're sitting there talking about, oh, these guys are cuck, he's a cuck, he's not a real man, he's out here shooting. Okay, but you're cucking for this dude who you know Trump is a cuck. I'm sorry, Trump is. You know he is. So it's like, what are y'all really, like, who are y'all alpha mailing out here for? For yourselves? For your family, for your freedom? Like, is your freedom really being infringed on? Really? Is it really? Is somebody coming in your neighborhood taking anything? Has anyone removed anything from your paycheck? Has anyone come on your job and said, you know what? Not today. Like, what has happened where your freedoms, I'm talking to you, MAGA people out there, what exactly has taken place that your freedoms have been infringed upon to such an extent that now you feel it necessary to storm the gates? Please, elaborate if you can.
My freedom not to have a black man as president. I explicitly signed up not to have a black man as president. I was told that would never happen.
Hey,
that would never happen, and it did. So that is a problem, sir. That's a problem.
But it was an African, and y'all like Africans. So what y'all tripping on?
He was a little bit too dark. He was a little bit too dark, and he wore these suits and the mustard.
He wore a tan suit and he put mustard on a hot dog, and I think he ate pizza with his fork once.
He too much charisma, and he played basketball. I didn't like all of that.
Would hit threes and leave his hand up and be like, "That's what I do." I mean, lefty, yeah, all of that. Bad news, all bad.
Worst president ever. I don't know at any point during his administration 2 terms versus the one that this one has served. 2 terms where he was discontent and advocated for people to come to Washington and just tear shit up. I don't ever recall Obama asking for that.
Do you don't remember that? You don't remember when Obama was like, "Hey, if I don't win the 2012 election, I want to make sure that all my people storm the gates and make sure that you come with your AK-47s and vests because Obama." I mean, like I don't. No idea. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But it's unfortunately funny.
All you can do is laugh, man.
Yeah.
All you can do is laugh at this point because it's just so absurd. There's no way to sustain this. There's no way it benefits the American people whatsoever. There's no way it benefits democracy. The people transfer of power is the most important aspect of keeping our democracy moving forward. We can say, okay, we had our differences. It is what it is. You recognize me for 4 years, like Trump. Like, yeah, we went as far as trying to impeach this dude. We successfully impeached him. He wasn't removed, but at the same time, everybody's recognized, okay, he's president. We couldn't remove him using these methods that obviously don't work. But because we couldn't, he's still president.
Yeah.
Still your president. Okay, all right. The only way to get rid of him is to vote him out. We do that. Here's where we are. Where half the country is like, do-over.
Yeah. It's like, okay, sure. Where they do that at? We've been doing that here. I put it like that. We put it like this. Where in established first world countries do they do that? Aren't we supposed to be the example, not the exception? So just saying. So we don't do that. We haven't done that. We had 2 dubious terms from George W. Bush. Both times we knew that he didn't win, but we let it go anyway. So I'm just saying, we know how the game is played. Understand, y'all should know how the game goes too. Y'all lost. Face up. It's over. Christian, what are you doing? I mean, Congress is gonna reconvene tonight when y'all sleeping. What are y'all? What are you doing? You haven't stopped anything. You've made yourselves look stupid. Some of y'all hopefully will stay arrested. Hopefully there will be more arrests. And I hope several of you all will be without jobs because obviously you didn't need the money that you had to buy the AK-47 that you bought. If this is how you're gonna use it.
We pass laws in the middle of the night all the time. Like, that's what I was like, who is going to sustain this movement? Like, do
you have shelter? You think that Airbnb that you ordered for you and your 3 MAGA hats is gonna be like, oh, here they come, they're coming back. They gonna be like, once they find out what you're doing in their Airbnb, they can be like, and scene. You're done. What are we talking about?
And are you going to stay on the count? You going to stay in Congress? Y'all going to like get pizza delivered? Like,
right. How long are you planning on staying out there? Because your job only gave you 3 days of leave. So again, what are you doing? Because I'm guaranteed not all of y'all are business owners.
No.
Because if you were, then you damn sure wouldn't be attacking the government trying to slow it down because you want to make sure you get that PPP. What are you talking about? You want to get that SBA PPP loan.
some of these people just extended their winter vacations, you know, just so they could go to this event. They got to get back to work. They got to be back at work by Friday.
You know what? I figured I know what it is. The crowd is mostly comprised of teachers, and you know, a lot of teachers on break right now.
True.
So, you know, that's what it is. It's mostly teachers fed up at their educational system and ready to aim it. They're really aiming at Betsy, the boss. But since, you know, they're like, well, this thing is happening at the same time, let's go ahead. You know, two for one.
Antifa and teachers. Well, I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, you know, I feel surprisingly optimistic. One, you know, validated because, you know, we've been talking about this for a while, and, you know, here we are. But surprisingly optimistic, you know, with this conversation. You know, obviously this cannot be sustained. I am kind of upset that the Department of Defense, you know, would not allow the deployment of the National Guard. But I that kind of feeds into what was going down earlier, that big turnover.
Breaking news, as a matter of fact, in relation, it says that Pence ordered the D.C. National Guard deployed, not drunks.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting.
Wow.
That's right here on MSNBC. That's news.
So are we talking about, do you feel like the Republicans are about to invoke the 25th or whatever? Like, you know, is this an act supported by the Republican Party, or you think this is like something Pence did on his own?
I have what is it? What's today? The 6th. We're gonna have 11 days of Pence. I mean, it could happen. Who knows? It could happen.
What do you think this is going to do to the markets? Do you think the markets are going to be?
Dude, don't say that. I got too much invested right now. Please.
I'm just saying. I don't do. Like, I mess with crypto, but I don't mess with the markets like that because I knew crypto, like, you know, instability. Crypto globally, you know, is going up. But yeah, like, I wonder how the markets are going to react to this kind of instability. This is severe. Like, if you could just, your government would just be shut down by a bunch of crazies. That can't be good for stocks.
Oh, not at all. Because you don't know who's leading who's going to lead the teeth. Who's operating the teeth that you get the suckle from. You know. So yeah, as far as the corporate interest, I'm sure there's a huge play to that, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of backlash, or not effect. While we're talking, let me look right now. See,
what did the Dow close at today?
What sort of aftermarket trading we got going on
Dow right now?
Activity, because, geez, I hadn't even been looking today, and now I'm kind of.
The Dow seems to be up by 1.4%. Let's look at the
wow. Well, let's see.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
The Nasdaq's down 60.
I won't show the number. But I'll just show this is what my stocks did today.
Oh shit!
You see that drop? That
wow!
Drop right there.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow! That's a drop. That is a drop.
Yeah. That's wow.
Oh shit!
Wow. Wow. I mean, I'm still good, but damn.
But the thing is, here's the thing. Read between the lines. Follow the money.
Sure.
So if the puppet masters above coordinate this shit, everybody pull your stuff out the market. I want to see what the trades are, the stock market trades that, you know, Rubio, and I want to see all of the conservative stock market portfolios right now and see if there are any moves in mass before today's antics, because I think that might give an indicator about what the motivation is. Everybody sell out their shit, pull out the market.
Oh yeah,
lunch. Everybody buy in now. Ride it back up. It comes back up. A little bit.
Like the. I'm sure there's like some, you know, said some CEO movements, kind of like we saw at the beginning of the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, when we had 150 or something, no, 1,500. Sorry, CEOs just quit within a 6-month period. All of them just say, I'm done. I mean, big companies too, like Disney and stuff, you know, just crazy. So one person I'd say to watch is Loeffler. What Kelly Loeffler does, because she's the one who's been benefiting off everything that's been happening, and she invests heavily. So she would be one I would be interested in watching, especially now since she ain't got no job. So you know what I'm saying, be wondering, you know, what else she got going on.
Exactly.
But I would honestly be, I mean, to be honest, I would say it would be interesting to check out what her what her stock or investing activity looks like following today.
I mean, Trump's whole presidency has been market manipulation, in real time, in broad daylight in front of us. And like, it just occurred to me, like, this is more of the same because, there's no way this instability reflected well in the stock market today. And if you knew it was coming, you could get your shit out before everything drops, and then everybody can buy in, tomorrow. Like,
thankfully, it's stocks, and I can see which ones took the hit, and I had a feeling they were going to drop. But good God, good God, that was a steep, and that was like, if I'm not, let me see, what time was that? Because it has a time. That was at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock is when it all went down.
Because they were certifying around that time. They were certifying the results of the elections.
That would be noon Eastern. So
yep.
I think that was when the plane started to land. That was when the first Delta Airlines landed, and it came up. It was like Airbnb check in. All right, AK-47 check. Ooh, had a night's sleep. Now we're ready to go start some shit. Let's go, locked and loaded.
No, I want to see. This is definitely some coordination in broad daylight. I'm willing to double down on that because everybody knew what was going to go down. Just saying, that's the other thing too. They're talking about social media being partially responsible for these activities because this was all coordinated across social media channels, whether it be Parler, whether it be Facebook.
So we want to blame the social media.
Not completely. I feel like there's a lot of levels of complicity, when it comes to today's events. It's not just one, but like for there to be readily observable connections between individuals on a platform discussing activities that are seditious, that you can monitor.
And you can do something about.
And you can do something about it, but you choose not to. There's a level of complicity there. We can talk about Big Brother all day long, but they're on your platform. They're in your house plotting this shit in a room that you're providing. And you can hear,
sure,
what's going down.
But the pushback is going to be that they'll say, well, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, these are just tools. Parler is just a tool. Are you gonna get mad at someone who uses a gardening hoe incorrectly?
Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That's the way that they'll go with it. That'll be the pushback.
Yeah. But at the same time, we can say we don't give guns to 2-year-olds for a reason. Guns don't kill 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds kill 2-year-olds.
We shouldn't give them the MAGA either, but I
digress. I'm talking about, one and the same. One and the same.
Says recently, MSNBC is saying the Senate is going to reconvene tonight at 8 o'clock.
We'll see what happens. We'll see if we make it to the night. We'll know in an hour. It's 6:53 right now here on the East Coast, so we got about an hour. And either
since they have that curfew and stated from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., they got the streets cleared. So, that allows Congress to do what they need to do. Go ahead.
At this point, I wonder if we're going to see a filibuster until the curfew is lifted.
Oh snap! Yeah, I don't. That would be interesting. I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, I feel like at this point, if there is a filibuster and these individuals within Congress,
who do you think would do it?
Oh, here's Carrie. Carrie's on.
Okay.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Carrie.
Hi.
So we were just talking, Carrie, about what could potentially happen. Now we recognize that during this whole thing went down during the debates that were supposed to take place over the Electoral College, confirmation, and you had a number of Republican senators who were basically saying that these election results should not be certified. You had that, and then you had this thing go down, and everything was disbanded. And now Seven's saying, based off what MSNBC has reported, at 8 o'clock tonight, they're going to reconvene, right? At that point, is it possible that after debates resume, that there could be a filibuster, if you will, until the curfew is lifted for this to go down all over again?
Okay, so I missed part of your broadcast, and I'm not sure if I'm repeating what you already said. So forgive me. I was actually having this conversation on another network. So I wanted to back up a little bit in order to answer your question properly. One of the things I noticed when I was watching the C-SPAN live broadcast this morning was I saw them entering into the Senate chamber. And what was interesting to me is they were coming from the back side. That backside door is only open, can only be open from the inside. And the timing on it was suspect to me because it was when Arizona was doing their objections and they were losing their objection, right? So it was they were going to make their objection and move on. And as soon as you saw those people walk in, the senator from Utah, and I forget his name at the moment, but he turned to, I think it was, I want to say it was Mitch McConnell, but I'm not certain. But he turned to somebody and started yelling at him, and he's like, "This is what you've done. This is what we're going to get." And those were not his exact words, but he was very sincerely upset because he put two and two together. At the same time, the rest of us were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" You could even hear the C-SPAN reporter like, "What are we watching here?" So those two pieces were pretty suspect to me because we all knew if you have been on social media at all in the last 3 weeks, you saw chatter. You saw the chatter happening. And we're just regular folks. So you know that Homeland Security and all of the three-letter agencies were also seeing the chatter. So what was interesting to me is when they showed the shots of security last night and going into today, there was a huge difference between what we saw with the Black Lives Matter protest on the first few days compared to what you saw last night and today, right? So that was another piece that we have to put together. But then for those who aren't aware or don't understand the significance of this next piece, this is the big one. So in DC, and we saw this in Portland and Seattle and all the other cities, when those mayors, particularly in Seattle, when they said, the mayor said, I didn't ask for the National Guard to come, they were lying. And here's how we know. Because the National Guard cannot enter a city without the permission of the mayor. Proof of that was during the Black Lives Matter protest. You had Mayor Bauer of DC tell them to leave. I did not give you permission. You have no authority to be here. You must go. And then you saw the Virginia City Council or the Virginia Council and the governor go, yeah, I'm sorry, we thought you had. And it was all orchestrated by Bill Barr. So today, when she asked for National Guard support, she went first to the closest jurisdiction, which was the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo said no.
I heard that. That's what I heard.
That to me, I was like, got it. This is a coup. This is legally defined as a coup now because you have the stand down, which we see already.
Oh, we lost her.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I wonder what happened.
Okay, she'll probably be back. Oh, there she goes. Okay, cool.
So, by the way, the Capitol Police were told not to engage because they didn't want to inflame, but you have people overrunning the Senate, right? So it's kind of an issue. And then at the same time, you have no National Guard presence, and the Secretary of State said no. So what they ended up doing was calling Virginia, the governor of Virginia, the next closest jurisdiction, and they sent in their National Guard. Right. So you have to have those two pieces, somebody who's got control and authority to bring them in and a mayor who gives permission. So that's when you finally started to see the National Guard come in. So to me, all of this was quietly orchestrated. It was just a matter of who was going to step up and do it. And I was grateful to see Mike Pence back off it and say, absolutely not. That's the long way around to answer your question about now we have 3 other states that had objections going into today. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia was one of them. I can't remember all the states, but I remember that there were 4 in total. So those other three have yet to express their objection. So senators, I'm curious to see which ones actually do it, because that lets you know who is full on into sedition. I think after what you saw today with the tear gas and people being shot and everything happening, I would expect to see some of those senators back off and not voice their objection. Because in all of this, it's one thing to have the vibrato when you're talking about it and to have that propaganda when you're going in front of your adoring fans. It's another thing to have a gun pointed at you. It's quite another thing to have tear gas or whatever chemical weapons they were using today. So I think it was unnerving for some of them, and I would expect that at least 2, if not 3 of those states would just, they're going to drop their objections.
What's the long term? So what's the long term prognosis? You know, what was the play here? Do you think that, you know, Trump and Trump supporters actually thought there was going to be a successful coup? Because I mean, just like Seven acknowledged earlier, it's like, how was this sustainable? Like, how was this going to ever, you know?
It wasn't. It was never sustainable. And it is my personal opinion, and I'm going to hold to this until I see something else, that I think all of this was meant to be performative, because you got to remember, Trump is still fundraising off of all of this.
Hell yeah.
And he's going to have quite a legal bill when this is done. And oh, by the way, Mike Pompeo is on that list too. So that's something to watch out for. So you have Louis Gohmert, you have Mike Pompeo, you definitely have Rudy. Rudy's in big trouble. Rudy has all of the bar associations in every state and hundreds of members of the bar in each state petitioning to have him removed and censured, and legal challenges based on his 44 different lawsuits. So I think this is the last throes of a grift. That's what it is. It's a grift.
All the major amounts of ads that he sends looking for donations. Oh yeah,
that's exactly right.
This is just
and you all the gear that everybody was wearing, made in China, sold through the Trump campaign. So
yeah,
absolutely. So I think that was really the purpose of it. And you know, it's kind of like that last play, Hail Mary pass. Maybe it'll work, but even the GOP senators were telling their colleagues, "Oh, don't worry. We know this is just, we're just going to voice this objection, right?" But when it came down to it, push to shove, when Giuliani had all of these court cases, never once did they bother to lie to a judge, because there were ramifications. So what I would like to see as a voter is I'd like to see some people held accountable for what happened today, because this was absolutely something that should never have gone this far. I get, you know, the propaganda and grift, but to the level where now you had a woman who died, who was shot and killed. You had other people who were shot. Right. So this has risen to the level of actual criminal intent. And even Trump, when he came out in his second address, you know, and I sent it to you, Brandon, it was this guy's maniacal. He could not back away from this rhetoric about the election being stolen. He said it, 4 or 5 times in his, "Oh, by the way, go home, it's been stolen from us." No, each one of those counties had a Republican clerk. And it was certified by majority Republicans in that state. So if it was stolen, it was at your clerk's office. And none of them. And, you know, when electors come out or the election judges, it's bipartisan. You have to have the equal number of Republicans and Democrats sitting in that polling place to guard against this. But they don't teach their people that for a reason. Seven, I think you're absolutely right. It's all about the grift.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that means that, well, I mean, what do you feel about there being consequences and the fact that, you know, inevitably there probably will not be consequences for doing this, meaning that we're emboldening future grifts of this that may have to be a little bit more spectacular. Instead of one woman dying, we'll have about, 20, 30 people die, and just call them martyrs for the cause
I mean, we'll say we
Well-
won't fall for it, but we'll have like a more charismatic Trump next time. So that way it'll feel a little bit more genuine.
There are two questions to answer for what we saw today, because we can't unsee it, right? The first was, all the events that happened, people have to be held accountable, and I think this is the problem that we have had from the beginning. So that everyone understands, the reason that the incoming administration does not prosecute the outgoing administration is not a law, it's not a statute, it's a Department of Justice guideline. That's all it is. And the reason we do it is a gentleman's handshake. Hey, I'm not going to prosecute you for X, Y, and Z because I hope not to be prosecuted, when in fact we should be doing it the opposite way. So I would hope that there will be some accounting for what happens today. I'm not hopeful. I wouldn't put $1 on it. That's the first one. Second one, we cannot unsee the disparity between the Black Lives Matter protests and how that was handled and what happened today. Everyone saw it, and if you are at all on social media, that is the conversation, not just the behavior of what happened today. But wait a second, had this been a Black Lives Matter protester, or Brandon, you said it, how do we know they're not Antifa? Because they're still breathing. Right. So this is a truth. This is the truth about what we're seeing, right? And in Kenosha,
Congressional Medal of Honor, or President Medal of
right,
Honor.
right. So just compare it to Kenosha last night. Last night you had the district attorney, who is notorious for not prosecuting egregious police overreach and causes of death. And he chose not to prosecute yet again in the Blake case. And they put National Guard out in Kenosha, and what happened? Those people were peaceful, they were protesting, they were in their cars honking horns. National Guard was there, but they weren't in DC?
Nope.
So that is something else that I think is really important, that needs to be addressed as we go forward, because the difference is
when it was time to clear the plaza, the Black Lives Matter plaza, they were there on deck, gassing, tear gassing, out the church. Like, they were ready. They were nowhere to be found here.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So we can't unsee that. We can't unknow that. And if somebody's in the Biden transition team, they've got to be paying attention to that, because this is something that has got to be answered for. Because today what we saw were misguided individuals either overtly wanting a civil war or just completely believing in people who were lying to them, compared to the Black Lives Matter, who is simply asking for equal protection and due process, which are guaranteed under the Constitution, not once, but twice. How do you compare the two?
So I want to go back. I want to give you I want to get your perspective on how the media has handled this. Are you seeing this referred to as a terrorist act? We recognize it's a grift now, obviously, but someone died, violence was used. It can be an expensive, grifty terrorist act, but do you see it being acknowledged as such?
Well, in a general scan, C-SPAN is doing a wonderful job of calling it what it is. They haven't necessarily used the term terrorist. Fox News is curiously silent today. I mean, silent. And in fact, we're seeing some tweets come out from Ted Cruz and, all of these,
well,
I call them co-conspirators, but
all Ted Cruz is trying to do is guarantee his inroad to the 2024 chair. That's all he's trying to do. Trying to get, as long as he can look like he can feign some sort of support for what's going on right now, then that will hopefully lead to an inroads for him to get the presidency in 2024. That's
right.
Ted is the slimy slime ball, and everybody sees that. I hope. At least I hope.
Oh yeah. The most hated man in Congress. Absolutely. How he still gets elected, I don't know. He almost lost last time. So if you're in Texas, in his district, let's do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I truly believe what we're seeing in real time is the birth of a more extremist, more authoritarian party, because, diehard conservatives like Pence, are not going to be able to survive moving forward, in this party as it is. So if the Republicans are going to become a losing party, then those rats need to have some place to jump ship to. Nunez.
No. Pence is coming back. You're going to see Pence run for president. I guarantee it.
Oh,
guarantee it.
I don't think he's going to run.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's going to run for president under the same. I mean, Pence may run for president as a Republican, but if Cruz runs for president, he's not going to run for president as a Republican. The Republicans are going to be dirt to Trump's base. They are dirt to Trump's base right now because the impression is that the Republicans didn't fight hard enough for Trump. So these extremists have to find their own platform that they can operate from, that they can use to engender support for 2024, my opinion.
I don't give them enough credit to be able to start their own party. Like the Tea Party was a movement within the Republican Party. So these people have always been there. They've always been there. They've just become more emboldened as things went on. A lot of it has to do with the income inequality and everything else that's going on, where we're not educating people about how money works and telling them how are you going to pay for it. We set up the scenario where it's easy to recruit new people into terrorism ideology, rather than, maybe we close that income gap a little bit and the equality issues that we have here. So as things progress forward, we're going to see more job losses that are going to get blamed on whatever. And that's going to be exacerbated. We're going to see the price of food rise. The effects of climate change are not going away, and we're still going to see these people deflect, right? So one of the tools that I'm actually using, just getting to use, is this really cool tool that takes all of your politicians and ties them in through a database to a corporate entity, right? So one of the ones I was looking at is this really cool network that has grown exponentially since 2015, the one that Trump did his address on today. I had not been familiar with them, but it's a little organization just like ours, but they started streaming for Trump, and so now Trump adopted them as his own network. Well, the owner of this young guy now has ties to all the fossil fuels, right? So that network's not going to go away without Trump, right? Trump could go away, but they have enough of a following where you're going to see them keep going, and they are tied part and parcel to the Republican Party. So there are enough Trump supporters, enough MAGA supporters who don't necessarily consider themselves racist or any of those things. They just want patriotism, and they're good Christians. So those are the people that are going to continue to be preyed upon by these supremacists and fascists. So I don't think they're going anywhere.
What were you saying? About to say something?
I think this is important, hugely important news. This just in. As a result of the unprecedented and ongoing violent situation in Washington, D.C., we have required the removal of 3 @real Donald Trump tweets that were posted earlier today for repeated and severe violations of the civic integrity policy of Twitter. That being said, basically he's suspended for the next 12. His account has been locked for the next 12 hours. Until he removes these policy breaking tweets, or it just remains locked if he doesn't remove it. And the key note here is if he violates that policy again, he'll get hit with a permanent suspension.
Oh, wow.
Right. Yeah. That 10 minutes ago.
So that hasn't happened in 10 years of Trump's crazy tweets. That has not happened. 4 years as president, when we've all been asking for it, and they said no, it's public information now, and now they do it. Way to go, Twitter.
Yeah, hopefully we get.
Meanwhile, Rome gets banned every other day. So I'm sorry.
Oh, geez, don't get me started. I just got out of jail on one of those platforms. I'll just say that.
Right. Oh, Shane says she gets 30 days on Facebook.
Yeah. I just finished 30. Just finished 30.
Trump about to do Facebook.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Trump's going to join OAN and be their Tucker Carlson on OAN.
Well, I'm hoping. Well, they say basically that whenever you know, the moment that Trump stops being president, you know, Twitter is going to completely, you know, shut his account off or whatever. You know, I'm hoping that can happen, but at the same time too, I feel like the genie's out of the bottle. Even if they shut Trump down on Twitter, he can just hop over to Parler and just like, you know, continue his reign of social media terror. You know, there's so many.
I mean, honestly though, could you imagine Trump on Parler?
I can't. Well, here's what I imagine.
I'll say I'll put it like this: Parler maybe more so than Clubhouse, but even with that, I don't think he'd have the reach that he wants. He wouldn't get the sort of reach or the sort of support he wants, or the sort of exposure that he wants, because he wants to be in your face. He wants to be able to jump in your face anytime he feels like it. And I don't think those apps will allow you that.
True. But the thing is,
they're not nearly as ubiquitous.
And they aren't. But the thing is, in order for him to sustain his movement somehow, somewhere, he's going to have to. Whenever in our post-Trump era, because he's not going to be prosecuted. Can we all agree on that? He's not going to be prosecuted. Right. He's got to survive somehow, some way, and he's going to have a bevy of lawsuits coming. Yep. So, where is he going to run to? That's going to afford him the opportunity to continue to grift his base.
Scotland?
No, the Scottish won't have him. He's got to go to South America. I guarantee he's going to South America. So
you go hang out with Hitler, where Hitler hung out.
Exactly. So I do want to. There was a really kind of interesting conspiracy theory that Darnell put up. I want to address that, and then I got to run. But Darnell suggests that the plan was for Mike Pence to become the president so he can pardon Donald Trump. I don't know how that would happen this time, because if that was the plan, then Trump could have resigned before the election, and then Trump would have handed the presidency to Pence. And Pence would have run for re-election, and then he could have pardoned Trump. So that's the only way it could have happened. And apparently they didn't think ahead, or too much narcissism. Trump wouldn't allow that. Yeah. So the only way that Pence could become president right now is under the 25th Amendment, or if the president dies. Yeah. Which he doesn't need a pardon anyway. So no.
All right. Yeah, that's right. We need him to face justice. Yeah. We don't need him to take that Jeffrey Epstein right.
How likely of a 25th Amendment option, you know, do you think is possible at this moment? Because that could be the 5D chess. Is like, you know,
0.
You don't think it's going to happen?
0. Okay. No, because you have to have Republicans sign on to it, and enough of them with a backbone, with enough Democrats with a backbone to do it. And I don't see them doing it, because that is akin to admitting that they were wrong.
Everybody.
And I just.
So they're basically they're captives of their own hubris at this point.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So, well, thank you. I appreciated it, guys.
You're welcome. No, I enjoyed having this. See, during moments of tension where, you know, you have this unrest, you know, and like, you know, everybody's looking at. I'm laughing at it, because even though I hadn't like thought it through, I'm like, how is this going to be sustainable? What happened? What's going
on MSNBC? They're talking about KC Mo right now. The Kansas City Star Kansas City Star editorial board is saying Hawley has blood on his hands.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I said that too.
You know, he wanted to be president.
Yeah. Oh, he was young and pretty and ready to go. But I will say, as somebody who has I have lived through 3 coups, one of them military and the rest of them political. This sort of thing is not a big deal. For the majority of us, we're fine. Go. Right. Take a deep breath. This will work itself out. And this, I have to say, of all the coups that I've lived through, this is the worst, ridiculous thing I have ever seen. I remember looking at my phone going, oh, they aren't going to try it. Okay, well, let's see it. And it's like,
I mean, my only fear, my only concern is when this isn't a shit show. When we have an
Yes.
actual charismatic president who comes in sounding like, hey, I'm for everybody, but then you actually see his agenda. He has his base, he has them mounted, and they actually have an actual agenda and an actual plan to keep them. And I mean, like when and if something like that occurs, I mean, that's a whole different game we're playing right there.
Alexandria Ocasio.
Yeah, then I
just tweeted that to impeach. She's saying we should impeach again.
For what? For what? Really?
I mean, how long do we?
What a waste of time.
They had so many things to impeach this man on that was like actionable so many years ago, year 1, year 2. I mean, so now we wait until, it's funny, I've been saying it so much today, the 25th hour to say, oh, now. Let's do our civic duty.
But at the same time, we're talking about justice and needing to apply justice, and this is what's supposed to happen. I mean, somebody died today.
No. What you do is you put him in a brig for just a little while, make him comfy, maybe take him back to Walter Reed, where he's got this nice palatial suite. And I would refer everybody to the Legal Eagle. The Legal Eagle did this really nice video piece on the Georgia phone call, because if everything else went over your head about his illegality, that phone call had 4 illegal felony level crimes.
Yeah.
So just let him sit for a little bit and then prosecute him for that, and let Southern District of New York, and oh, by the way, Interpol is looking for him. He's going to get his comeuppance. Yeah.
Iran wants him to now. So yeah, this is about to be
Iran, Syria, Lebanon. Who else is after him? Russia. Russia wants their money back.
Yeah.
Well,
we could just cut them up and send them to the 4 corners of the earth and pay off his debts now.
Oh, okay. I have Celtic heritage, so the draw and quarter, if you don't know what that is, that's a family tradition. So absolutely.
Hold on, wait.
All right, guys.
Drawn and buttered.
Drawn and quarter.
Sounds delicious. We having crab
Not
legs?
the same thing. Not the same thing. So
thank y'all for coming on tonight. All
right, thanks, Brandon.
All right, talk to you later. Peace.